Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Soup Breakdown. Today, we're going to be talking about the Gouf, piloted by Ramba Raw. The Gouf, the MS-07B Gouf, is a really fun suit that is no Zaku boy, and obviously has become somewhat of a poster boy for the older character that wants to just be awesome and not just use a Zaku to fight the main pilot. The Gouf obviously is most well known for original Gundam, Build Fighters, and of course 08th MS Team. But that's a whole different Gouf that we'll get to later. The Gouf is a beast in melee. It is something to be reckoned with, and absolutely something to be taken advantage of. You might have already noticed, dear viewer, that you have the heat rod, and it has levels. As you do damage, the heat rod levels up. As you do damage with the heat rod. And it gets faster, it does more damage, and has a wider range. As you can tell, it now swings a lot further than it did before. When you get it fully leveled up, it is absolutely amazing to just unload with the heat rod. I missed. It has a really small hitbox, but if you're a better player than me, you'll be taking a lot more advantage of the heat rod. That would have been a great moment to hit him when he was on the ground. He couldn't dodge the heat rod, but unfortunately, I'm bad at this game. So, I really like the Gouf. I think that it feels good to use, in that it feels like something about hitting the enemy with that giant sword or with that huge whip just feels really solid to me. Obviously, it has some really nice combos as well. There's even one that's a charge, if I can get it to pull off here, that ends in a kick that's really nice. There we go, and we're almost fully leveled up here. Oh man, the height alone messes me up every time. But like we said, I'm bad at this game too, so there's that. I just want to show you guys a fully leveled whip, but if I die, it'll be all for nothing. Alright, we're gonna get in here. There we go. You didn't really get to see it fully leveled, but you got to see me at least kill him with it. I think the whip is a really fun addition. My biggest problem with the Gouf is, with the Gouf Custom, or with the standard Gouf, that is, not the Gouf Custom, is that I try to use the whip too much, because in my head, I need to level it up at all times. We didn't really get into the rest of the Gouf's moveset there, so we'll do that this time. I spent a little bit too much time on the whip, the heat rod, that is. But, as you can tell, the Gouf's sword is very prominent. You definitely might notice this is the first thing. But the blue giant here, Ramba Raw, that's not all he's got. He's also got a really handy little machine gun. See what I did there? That does some really decent damage, actually, and has some pretty good tracking on it. It doesn't do as much damage as, say, for instance, a beam rifle would. But at the same time, the spread's pretty nice. The recharge is fast. That's not his real ranged option. That would be this bazooka. The bazooka is really nice for being able to track down opponents because it has a really good follow-up. And there's one of the charges that he can do. And there's the tracking that's on that sideways melee. And then, of course, his down melee is the kick. That is the charge kick that knocks them up into another melee attack. It's really good. Like the Gyan, he has 540 health. At 300 cost, which I think I mentioned at the start of this video. But, that's fine. 540 is plenty for a 300. I keep doing it. There we go. That makes me feel better. I should have capitalized on that, but it's fine. And his burst is a really nice melee series of attacks that unfortunately does not level up the whip. Like we would like it to. It does bring it a little bit higher, but nowhere near what I would hope for the amount of uses that you get from the heat rod. But again, there's so much more to his kit than just the heat rod. It's a shame that it's the first thing that I see and that I focus on every time. Because the Gouf is really fun. Now, should you use the Gouf? Well, if you like melee, and you like suits that are absolutely vicious in melee, then yes, you should use the Gouf. For ranged players that prefer to go ranged, there's not a lot of options here for you. But the sheer volume of melee options that the Gouf has alone, more than make up for that, in my opinion. Plus, the leveling up mechanic is a lot of fun. If you can get the heat rod fully leveled up, you can do a lot of damage with it. Past that, obviously, he is a very good fighter for close range, for mixing up. The biggest issue that I have with the Gouf is that I focus too much on the heat rod. And so if you can look past that and use it when you should, and maybe kind of just hang back when you shouldn't and not try to use it all the time, as you can tell just from that distance alone, we're getting a lot of damage in here. And that's again, 2 full rounds of shots and 1 melee combo, and he's already at half health. The Gouf is a blast to play. The Striker, that we haven't really talked about at all, is a little close range. He uses the heat rod, and he has just as much time hitting with it, or just as hard a time hitting with the heat rod as I do. But oh, that was nice. When it comes to using the Gouf, I would normally pair him up with a Striker that has a stun on it. I'd maybe use the Gyan or I don't know, maybe the Gyan or the. There we go. Who would I? I'd recommend definitely the Gyan. Maybe the Zeong Striker would be really good for opening up ranged. The Kyrios Striker might not be too bad. And then, of course, the Cross 1x1 Striker would not be a bad addition at all to choosing. There we go. That's such a fun combo to use. And I guess at the end of the day, that's my biggest thing about using the Gouf, is that it's just fun to play the Gouf. Fun is not something we normally counter into a factor with this. We mainly focus on utility and what it can do, but I just like playing the Gouf. I'm not as good with the Gouf as I wish I was, but it's fun to use the Gouf. And that's something that I don't think should be discounted. So yeah, should you play the Gouf? Do you like melee? Yeah, you should play as the Gouf. Do you like ranged? Try the Gouf, but you should probably think about something else if you only want to do ranged. That said, I've been Trey. This has been the Suit Breakdown and the Full Spectrum, and we'll be back next week with, or next time, with more Gouf. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that the Gouf has to offer.